What's happening, YouTube? It's Simon466cards, and today we're going to talk about whether or not the hobby, the sports card industry, has a problem with money laundering. I came across this description that you see on your screen right now about money laundering and how cryptocurrency really plays into money laundering. So it says right here, virtual currencies are attractive to money launderers because they are accessible globally, offer quick and effortless transferability, and a high degree of privacy and anonymity. And as I was reading this, the thought that came to my head is, isn't that basically describing sports cards? And so let's go through this, right? They are accessible globally, yes. Offer quick and effortless transferability. Not quite effortless, but almost effortless and pretty quick, although not as quick as crypto. And high degree of privacy and anonymity, right? And so that's also true. And so that gets me thinking, money laundering, sports cards, money laundering, the hobby, is there a problem here? And so, well, let's start from the very beginning. If you're not unfamiliar with what money laundering is, let's talk about what that actually is. So, what is money laundering? I took this straight from Wikipedia. Feel free to pause the video and read this in detail, but the highlighted section here is the important part. It's basically saying money obtained from crimes is dirty and it needs to be cleaned to appear to have been derived from legal activities, so that banks and other financial institutions will deal with it without suspicion, and money can be laundered by many methods. So basically, you did some crimes, you did some good criming, you now have dirty money, and you need to turn it into clean money, right? And so the 3 steps to do that are laid out in here below. It's first step is placement, second step is layering, and then the third step is integration. And so I'm going to explain to you what those things are and how that would apply to the hobby. So like I said before, step 1 is placement. What does that mean? It means introducing the dirty cash, or cash that was obtained through crimes and illegal means. You're introducing dirty cash into the financial system by some means, some way, somehow, right? Now, this is all about doing it within the financial system. I'm talking about it from a sports card perspective, or a card perspective, hobby perspective. And so how would I do that? Well, instead of using the financial system, you introduce cash into the hobby by using that dirty money to buy cards, right? That money that was obtained through some type of crime, you use that money to buy cards. The second step is layering. And what is layering? It's just essentially doing a bunch of money moving to hide the fact that the source of the money, is actually crime. And so you do a bunch of stuff to like move money around from one bank to another, across a series of accounts, do all sorts of shenanigans to make it hard to figure out where the money actually came from, right? Well, if you're doing this with cards, it's also not that hard. You buy the cards with your dirty money, and then you sell the cards online, whether it's eBay, whatnot, etc., or you create a repack. And if you want to throw another wrench to make it even harder to trace, just make a trade or two, right? You know, if I buy a basketball card, trade it for a football card, and then trade it for a Charizard or a TCG card, and then I sell that, there was no way to trace it back to what you initially bought and how that money was used in that initial first purchase, right? Trades make it unbelievably hard to trace once you throw that into the mix. But even if you don't, you can sell the cards via consignor or whatever, and there's no way to know where that card initially came from and what money you used to buy that card. So that's step 2. And there's only 3 steps here. And then the third step is integration, which is basically getting the money from that after that series of transactions. So basically this is, you cash out your card sales, you have a legitimate paper sale if you sold it on eBay or on whatnot, with your consignor, PWCC, Golden, wherever you get it from, or if you have a repack and you sell it online or in person, you can have a receipt now if you sell it to someone with a credit card or whatever, right? So It's really straightforward. Like, I just explained this to you in 3 simple steps using the 3 steps that they talk about to describe money laundering, except it's basically use dirty money to buy cards and then sell the cards. You've created a paper trail and now it looks legitimate. It's very straightforward. And if you want to make it a little bit more harder to trace, make a couple trades in the middle. That's it. That's it. It's not hard. And so when I was thinking about this, I'm like, oh my God, it's so easy to use the hobby to launder money. But there is one thing that stops the hobby from being just perfect for money laundering. And that's size and scale, right? If you're a money launderer and you're trying to hide the fact that your money is coming from crime, you only do this if you have a large amount of money, right? Millions and millions of dollars. And like, nobody has that amount of money in cards generally, right? Like, the amount of money and sales that you'd have to make it worth it, make it worthwhile, it's not enough, right? Like, if you sell a few cards here and there, it's like a few $1,000s here and there, it's just not enough to make it worthwhile if you're trying to clean your money that you've gotten from whatever crime that you're partaking in, right? That's what I thought, because usually money laundering is like $1 million operation. And that's what I thought. And it makes sense. You don't see a lot of people doing multi-million dollars often. And there's not a lot of cards, individual cards, that are worth that amount, right? And those ones are usually are highlighted very often. So that's what I thought. And then I thought about this post that made the rounds a few months ago. I'm just going to let you read this here, but it's basically someone in a Facebook group basically trying to find someone to buy cards for this person. And the thought process was at this time that this was a repacker. But if you scroll down to the part that I have in red here, the goal is to be buying $1 to $1.3 million a week. Well, simple math says there's 52 weeks in a year, so that's $50 to $65 million a year. Now, I'm not accusing this person of being a money launderer. I am absolutely not. This person could just be a repacker or a dealer, whatever. But if someone was using the hobby to launder money, this is what it would look like. This is exactly it. There's no other way to explain it other than this is what it would look like. I'm looking to buy and then sell. I'm looking to buy and then sell. I'm looking to buy and then sell. And I'm going to pay other people to do this for me. And I'm looking to have the velocity of transactions to be some ginormous number, like $1 million a week. And again, I'm not saying that this person is doing that. I'm just saying that if someone were to launder money to make it worth their time, this is what it would look like. And so this transaction or this post made the thing that I thought was impossible actually possible. People are actually trying to do this. Whether or not they're doing it for money laundering, I do not know. But there are people doing things that would at least make it possible. And so that is a problem for the hobby, because it only just takes one guy to get caught using the hobby for money laundering, for the whole thing to be scrutinized by the government and get regulations, and then it turns into something that's just not a lot of fun compared to the current day where it's kind of the wild west. And maybe with all these other things that are happening in the hobby, where it turns into a little bit of a slot machine with breaks and all that kind of stuff, maybe there is some merit to having some regulations. But I feel like if at some point in the next 2, 5, 10 years, a group or some people are caught using the hobby to launder money, well, the government's going to take a really hard look at the hobby. And that's not good for anyone. And the value of the card now compared to 20 years ago make it possibly worthwhile for criminals to use the hobby to launder money. So that's it. That's the video. Would love to hear your thoughts and comments on whether or not you think money laundering is already happening or could possibly be happening in the hobby today. I truly do not know, but I cannot rule it out based off of the fact that it's just such a cash heavy business, which makes it absolutely ripe for money laundering. And also the values of the cards now reaching the point where you could pretend to be a dealer and do that to actually be a money laundering operation. Sometimes we preview the next video, and so next time I'm going to change it up. I'm going to talk about why the hobby, it's all about the friends. It's all about the friendships that you make. Very different from my regular videos. I'll preface that now, but I think it is an important video as we head into the National. Thank you as always for listening and watching. I will talk to you all soon. Cheers.